One more time.
What's up?
Hi. Good morning. Happy hump day.
What's up?
You seem unhappy.
Mm-hmm. Very much so.
Well, should we start with good things? Or do you want to go straight to bad things?
You can't undo my gray cloud of awesomeness.
Aww.
And vulgarity warning, anybody who's listening at work, this might not be safe for work. So
NC-17
yeah, and
show rating
I will
today.
do my best to regulate, but I make no promises. So welcome everybody, Youngstown's Talk Channel. Joe and Kellen. Joe's pissed off. You're just a ray of sunshine. So this should be a good dynamic. So yeah, Mark, don't try to win me over here. I know it's great that Derek won mayor yesterday on election day. But it's not good enough news to tip me.
Well, that's what I figured we could start with.
Go ahead, let's do it. Let's talk about that. And I'll still be gruff and give you side eye.
Well, I know we've had Derek McDowell here, and you've talked him up, and we think this is a really good thing for the city of Youngstown, and it is to be celebrated.
Yay! Awesome.
In fact, I saw on Facebook there's going to be a celebration at Penguin City. That's great. Utilizing business down here already.
Okay. Awesome.
You want to give a little yay?
I did. I said yay.
Okay.
It was a yay.
Okay.
Freaking yay. I will tell you that we had an open invitation to have Tito Brown down to go through a same kind of interview process about things that uncomfortable questions and pushback and whatever, and he declined. And he freaking lost. And so I'm going to take full credit for unseating Tito Brown as mayor. So great job, Derek McDowell.
Yeah. And a bunch of people are happy. Mark's happy. Virginia says Derek is amazing. Terrible votes on the levies.
What? They all freaking passed. So I guess there's a bunch of people voting who don't have to pay taxes that decide to give a blank check to all of these municipalities that misspend your money and tax us to freaking death. So I hope you're proud of yourself, people who just give more money to the incompetent people out there. So congratulations on being stupid. Here's a freaking trophy.
The sun is out.
Yeah, I see the sun's out. I did start seeing chemtrails start appearing back in the sky again. So even though there is no more government shutdown, the planes have started dispensing their mind control chemicals into the atmospheres. And so we're back to
mind control chemicals.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and let you take over. I don't really know where to go with this.
All right. I'm going to complain about this for a little bit because Lordstowns are freaking imbeciles. Freaking imbeciles. We got coupled in a news article where Michigan adopted some of the data centers that are coming to town, this increased interest in using utilities around our different cities and different states to be able to set up these data centers. Huge demand for it. And our Lordstown gray hairs or blue hairs, whichever you want to refer to them, they decide that things are already okay. Like, we don't need to set in front of our youth any kind of prosperity or potential there. We love the brain drain, and you're an 18-year-old that is looking to graduate in tech, in programming, in artificial intelligence, and it's like, oh, a community that I wish I could start a family in, graduate and use my skills here in the Mahoning Valley. There's a bunch of blue hairs that are sitting there saying, you're going to create too much noise in my safe, secure little neighborhood. So we're not going to want the industries. They're going to employ the next generation of high specializations in our community. Let's let them go to some other places and then wonder, like, why are all the young people freaking leaving? Why? Because the only industries around here are your nursing homes, your medical facilities, and your pharmaceutical distribution facilities. So if you're not catering to the old people, you're chasing all the young people away by not being willing to be inconvenienced for 2 freaking seconds so that you can look further on beyond your own freaking backyard and do something that's better for the community and the generations ahead of you, you selfish numbskulls.
Can you describe what exactly this is and what it could have done?
Yeah. So basically what happens is there are data centers that are needed for technology advancements, AI development, right? And when you put a concentration of a data center in one area, it's a huge tax on power consumption, cooling, you need water, all of this stuff. So the brainchild said, we got to spread this out over the United States and buy up properties that are, have enough capacity for power consumption needs, have enough resources like rivers and fresh water to be able to cool these down. And they pick different segments. You got Michigan, you got Tennessee, you got Kentucky, you got Ohio, all these places, low cost of living. So you can hire labor in and accomplish this and have it distributed all across the country rather than putting it all in Silicon Valley. And then the rest of us are like, why do they get all the data center deal? Well, it's a good deal for the entire country, because it's sort of like Youngstown. Why do we have so many steel mills here? Because we had a cache of talented workers. We had a labor pool. We had connectivity where we had highways and trains and access to public utilities. We were a perfect spot to be able to lay down the Industrial Revolution right here in Youngstown and the Mahoning Valley, right? Mm-hmm. And so the second industrialization, where we're going to just roll out AI and all these data centers because we need it, and Youngstown's like, well, no, maybe the steel mills are coming back, right?
Yeah.
And all these freaking old people, they can't see it as the next generation's infrastructure. So what would happen? Let's go back to the 20s or the 10s, right? And we're like, hey, we're going to have all this development. We're going to build all these buildings. We're going to produce steel for the entire freaking world. Let's pick all these places. What if communities then would have been like, we don't want steel mills that are going to do all this pollution and more traffic and hire hundreds of thousands of people. We don't want all of that prosperity. All these buildings came out of that, right?
Yeah.
And now we're like, oh, okay, well, I would just want to collect my Social Security and not be inconvenienced by this whole advancement thing.
I don't understand it. Yeah. So I don't want it.
And I'm so pissed off because there have been hundreds of opportunities that would lead me personally to other communities and states. And I have refrained. I said, you know what? I'm going to invest myself in this valley because we're going to make it. We've got grit. We've got the ability. We got the intelligence. We got great universities. We sell all of the things that can make us, prosperous. Mm-hmm. But then I watch Hubbard, all these communities, almost like in concert, all do the same dumb shit. And it makes me want to say, like, if I extended myself into a community in Tennessee and said, I'm going to create some jobs and I'm going to go out there and entice a company to come to your town. Do I think my community is going to embarrass the shit out of me by then signing petitions to keep what I begged to come to town? They're going to push away because they're freaking dolts, right? Mm. And my community, I know, would embarrass me. I don't know what it's like in Tennessee. Maybe they're a little bit more open-minded and be willing to make a little concessions for the sake of the community as a whole.
Well, and that was actually going to be my next question is it only here or is it everywhere?
It's not everywhere. It's not everywhere. There are other communities that are adopting it. Kentucky adopted it. Tennessee adopted it. Now Michigan adopted it. So watching all of our competitors, we're all vying for the same, come here, right? Mm-hmm. And we're turning it away and being a big pain in the ass to this industry because, again, the people that are voting for it they can't program a VCR, right? They need your help to tell them what the buttons do on their phone. And they're deciding things like whether or not AI technology and data centers are coming to your community. Just you're over your skis. It's not for you to decide these things. Let the younger generation thoughtfully put investment into this.
Well, does that demographic outweigh the younger generation?
Yes,
or did we just not have the turnout?
Huge senior citizen population. People that should not be deciding things when it comes to technology. They should be ushered off to maybe we dedicate an entire state for old people. We put them all there so they can't, let's give them their, access to, we'll deliver all your pharmaceuticals. We'll let you watch Judge Judy every freaking day, put them in a massive nursing home and get them out of our communities where they're hurting the next generation. They're hurting our cities, our townships, and also the young generation. Is like, if I'm coming out of college right now, right, and I got a degree in some advanced studies in technology, artificial intelligence or quantum computing or physics or whatever, am I going to give this area even a little consideration, or am I going to take all of the skill that I got from this area, and am I just going to go to a town that knows what their asshole looks like?
So I'm trying to think then, like, why? What is their excuse? Is it hey, I'm old now, I don't work, I'm on a fixed income, and I can't afford.
I don't want to be inconvenienced. This stuff's
inconvenienced, or they can't afford
it. The inconvenience is this. So in order, like a company comes to town and they have requirements and needs, right? And it's up for our administrators and the people that represent us to go through all of those needs. So we'll use a data center. So what detriments does a data center have on your communities, right? They're going to be a huge consumer of electricity. So if I'm an 80-year-old person that has a fixed income anyway, I'm like, oh, this guy's going to come to town and use up all of our electricity, and the electricity production is going to skyrocket. So you put that on your list. Hey, if you're going to invite these people to town, make sure I'm insulated for energy costs going up. Number one.
Yeah.
Number two, you're going to have a bunch of jobs coming to a community. So instead of 10 cars going down your road, it might be 100 cars as people are going to work. They're shopping in your communities. They're participating and making traffic congestion a thing, right? So then you put that on your list. Make sure that if you put this somewhere, it's not going to make sure that if I'm going down to downtown, instead of it taking me 78 seconds, it's going to take me 120 seconds. That's important to me. Fine. Okay. Third thing is contaminations, pollutions, and noise pollution. So water, air pollutions as well. And so then you put that on your third list. Like, we want to make sure that if they're using liquid cooling, they're using, they have a treatment facility where they're taking any water that's coming into the facility. They're doing a good job filtering it back out, so they're not dumping bad hot water that's contaminated into our streams and whatever. And then air pollution, whether or not, if the community can't support the power consumption and they set up a bunch of generators behind it, you don't want these clouds of generators. So you create a list of 4 things that are important to your community and say, if you come to town, this is the stuff that we want to make sure you have a really good answer to. And then so the administrators take it to the company that's interested in coming there and says, okay, these are our requirements. We want to make sure that we're not ill-affected in any of these departments, and get the responses on each one of these things. What are you going to do about water? Okay, we're going to run it through a filtration system that when the water goes back into the stream, it's more pure than when it came out. Okay, that's good response. We're going to take the facility and we're going to put it out of the ways, and they're going to pay for right-of-way. We're going to pay for right-of-ways so that instead of coming downtown and through your streets and through your neighborhoods, we're going to make sure we have a good off-ramp from the major roadways that are there, so it won't mess with your traffic patterns. And so, like, if they then answered all of what's important to you, that would be one thing. That's the beginning of a negotiation.
Yeah.
Our administrators are just fucking lazy.
So I'm assuming then did not have this conversation.
No, we did not have this conversation in the blind before it's in the beginning, the precipice of a negotiation. The blue hairs came out and basically said, we're going to petition so this doesn't come here, because all of our fears, even though they have not been addressed right now, are real in our brains, and we don't want that. And so we're gonna be against it before anything is actually talked about.
I'm not even gonna hear what you have to say.
You're stupid.
It's an automatic no.
It's an automatic no. And Hubbard joined them, and there's one other community that signed petitions to keep the interest even out of their community. Like, we don't want any of that. Not willing to talk about it, not willing to find out and make some concessions. We're just stupid and blind to what our communities need. It blows my mind.
Is there, okay, I'm admitting I am literally thinking out loud right now. So this is a thought before I've thought it through. Know that. Is there a way in the future we can somehow affect, I don't know if it would be the taxation of an area or what have you, where any new industry, any new prospects, any new major change to a county, an area, whatever, there's some sort of legislation or law that anything that goes to fund this new venture does not come from anyone age 70 and older or retired or whatever. Like, could there be some sort of law, whatever, passed that is like, hey, look, it's already on the books. Any new innovation to an area will not ever be funded by this group of people indefinitely going forward. And then they know that, and they don't have to sit down and come to a table and hear their arguments and hear what they're going to do to set their worries at ease. That it's already, I don't know. I don't understand what's coming in this area. I don't understand what it's for. I don't know. Young people like it. I don't know. It doesn't matter to me. I'm good.
I think we need to minimize direct democracy. And once you become a dependent on something, you no longer get to have a say in what happens. Okay. So if you go on Social Security, great, be representative on all things when it comes to Social Security. But when it comes to something that you don't need anymore, and you don't have a say, or you don't have a dog in the fight, you don't have a liability that's connected with it, you're like 3/4 of a vote, a half vote.
Yeah.
Right. And let the people who have a stake in their community have bigger say than the people who are just freeloaders and are going to vote against it only because they don't want to be inconvenienced.
Right. And if they do have a stake in it, if they are saying, hey, I'm elderly, I don't work, I don't have an infinite amount of money, and this will take some of my money, that's having a stake in it. Whereas if we're like, listen, we've already made it so that this isn't going to affect you financially, you're good.
Well, if it affects you, you can vote on it, right? So once you become a dependent, you're on the scam of Social Security. Let's not have property taxes affect you. Let's not have anything that happens in the economy. Let's reserve all of the risk and reward to the people who are participating. So you want to be part of that, go get a job and start participating. If you don't want a job and you just want to go off in retirement, you're insulated. Whatever it is now will always be, and whatever. So that would be my concession back to them, is take their vote out of the equation. Like if you had a HOA and you were voting on what happens in your community, would you want someone who none of the rules that you were voting on your HO would apply to you?
Who doesn't live in that neighborhood?
It's your costs to carry. It's your liabilities to carry. So it's up to you and the stakeholders in that neighborhood to be able to vote for it. You wouldn't want an interest from outside of it to have an equal say with you. It minimizes your vote.
If I think it's a great industry and I think it's going to be booming and I want to get a job there and I'm willing to invest the time and effort to bring it here, that's on me. If you have nothing to do with it and you don't want to work there and you are unaffected, shut up.
Shut up.
Like you're not at this table.
And really what we saw in New York with a Marxist, Islamic sympathizers being the mayor of our biggest financial city, the hub of all finances for the world. And you put a Marxist who's going to raise taxes and cripple capitalism in there. Yeah. And here's the thing, like, I don't mind it, but I am going to lecture you on it. Because you know what's going to happen to New York? The people that all of a sudden get the mathematics shafted on them are just going to go to another town. So the other town's like, cool, make New York uninhabitable for finance and capitalism. And then Tennessee will be like, bring it, baby. Right.
Yeah.
But that's not going to stop me from lecturing and telling you that you are stupid for making this move, because all of the consequences that I can warn you about will reveal themselves. So if you want your grandkids, right, to go to another state and city in order to further their career, right, then vote against the data center. That is in the cards. I will tell you. So you can't ever come back at me and say, and complain about why don't we get any of these big companies that are coming to town and give us a chance? Why don't anybody give us a chance? Like, why are we so neglected here? And I'm going to say, dude, I watched a dozen big opportunities come to your town, and you know what you did? You let dumb people be in charge of the decision making, and they wouldn't give you a chance because Tennessee is like, ooh, pay attention to me. We got resources, and we're not going to be a pain in the ass like Northeast Ohio is.
Yeah.
So if you want to be a pain in the ass, you're going to have all of the downside of being a pain in the ass, and that's right. And I disagree. I want to stay active in this area and be pro-business in the area, but you guys are embarrassing me and effing me over every time you do something stupid like this. Dumb people, shut up. Smart people, go be in charge. Pisses me off.
Did you see Trump's reaction, what he said about the guy winning in New York? I mean, silver lining, he's like, this is great for Republicans. He's like, this is great. Like, way to send everyone running to us in just a short while.
We should be proud of what New York City has become and what it's put together. And I don't want it to be like, as much as I know that Mondani's going to fail in, crisis and chaos. I don't want that for a city that we should be proud of. It's a gem. We should protect it. We should know why it came to be the way that it is, and not let some dipshit come in there, wreck it all, and then we've got a great example. So Republicans getting elected. F that. Like, I want proud people to protect what they have, and not a bunch of, I don't even know what to call them. I'm going to blame Gen Z for all of this, because now they got this idealistic view of what is possible, even though the mathematic never plays out the way that they say. They're wrong more than they're right, and they've effed up a major city because of it.
Yeah, Vivek Ramaswamy. He made a comment that I kind of agree with, but it's also sort of a shame. He was saying, we Republicans, we got our asses handed to us.
Yes.
And he said, and what I think we need to do going forward is we've got to focus on affordability. Things have got to be affordable to people. And unfortunately, it feels as though we as Americans are just overall in general so short-sighted. We don't have the ability to see long-term, to play the long game. Everything has got to be affordable right now, even if that means kicking the problem down the road. There is no solving of anything. There's no making sure a problem doesn't come up again. It's what's going to happen right now. Where do I see the savings in this moment? That's what I'm going for every time, even if it doesn't make sense. And it will never work long term.
Well, we can't agree with the terminology of affordable even is. Like, is authentically affordable versus subsidized affordable the same thing to you? Like, let's just say
that's what they're like. Oh, I'm just seeing this.
Okay,
like, this works for me right now.
I'll give you two examples. Let's just say gas is unaffordable. It's $3.49. Fictitious, but we're going to use it because it's a little bit magnified for this example's sake.
Mm-hmm.
So gas is too expensive. So you have a candidate A who says, here's what we're going to do. We are going to create more supply, create more competition, so that gas prices authentically go down because there's more of it. And through competition, there's more of a push to get a lot of the margin out of what is at the fuel pumps. And candidate B says, we're going to go over to this billionaire over there, take half of his money, and we're going to let gas cost the same, but we're going to use this guy's money to pay half of it. So now gas is $1.50. The authentic version of it is that you did the controls on a market level, and you did the other one on some stupid math thing. Like, so, this one has some longevity to it, right? Because it's real. And you can mess with it when it's real because whatever. What happens when, the billionaire that you were shaking down runs out of money? What happens to gas prices? It just goes back to where it was authentically. With no market forces on it, do you think the $3.50 gas is going to go to $5.60 and we're going to require more from that dude to pay more of it? You're as a consumer, it's still going to pay $1.50. But when it goes to $5.50, you're like, what the F happened? Oh, we ran out of people to shake down.
Yeah.
Or sentiment changes, so the subsidies changed. One is reliable, consistent, and true, and the other one is an illusion that was delivered to dumb Gen Z people who want to believe in Santa Claus and Easter Bunny of the economy. Like, it blows my mind of how stupid people can be.
Stupid, short-sighted,
yes,
self-absorbed, selfish. Like, it's
so when Vivek, any Republican out there that wants to be successful has to lay out the groundwork of not making things affordable in the ether, right? Affordability isn't the consumer's end goal or the end price. It's what things actually cost. So if you had Tylenol, it costs $600, and I'm like, Kellen, I can't afford a $600 Tylenol. Like, you get to decide whether or not what you're going to do, what things you can do to either make Tylenol more expensive or less expensive. And you got everything in your tool belt in order to make that happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
So day number one, Kellen's like, hey, I got a master plan. I'm going to look at the ingredients of Tylenol, which anybody can produce, and I'm going to go to XYZ company. And I'm like, okay, how much does it really cost to produce that pill? And they're like, oh, it's 79 cents, right? And what about your distribution? You got to put it in packaging. You have labor go through on the assembly line and put it in bottles and get it on store shelves and all of that. What's that cost? Oh, it's good. End of the day, we got $4.50 in this Tylenol. And we're on the up end, like $4. And so, okay, well, we're going to give you like 30% margin. So we're going to let you charge $6. And I'm going to bring XYZ company and let them come out into the marketplace, cut the regulation, and compete directly for the Tylenol. I'm going to say, hey, I couldn't do anything about Tylenol, but here's this. This one costs $10, and this one costs $600. So which one is Kellen choosing? The $10 one, right? And then Tylenol's like, holy shit, like, they're not buying my $600 one.
We can't compete.
I've got to compete with this one. So then they have to lower their price. Maybe they lower it to $300. And maybe there's a couple more buyers than there were before. Hospitals that are still obligated to do it and they can bill insurance for it. They'll still do a $300 Tylenol. But they're like, oh man, we're almost out of business. We got to lower prices even more. And they got to look and see what's costing them so much, why they're charging so much. And all of a sudden you watch this thing authentically drop to where it was. But it took somebody who's authentically competing in that space without the sweet deals that a lot of these companies are getting to reduce the cost for end consumers. And let healthcare is the same way, right? You want healthcare to cost less? Let independents that get all the red tape cut, all the regulations cut, get the bureaucrats out of the system and see what does health insurance really cost? And then easy. I do actuary work all the time. There's plenty of people out there that understand you put costs on a spreadsheet. You know which ones are required and which ones you're throwing on there for extra profit, and let somebody compete with all the other red tape. You'll find out authentically what health insurance is going to cost. So let's do some quick math here. Okay, so you get to go out of the marketplace and you're like, I'm starting Kellen's insurance company, and I'm going to only cater to this group. And this is the cold, sinus infections, and flu people. Right. Okay. And I'm going to sell insurance to those three things. I'm going to we'll go 100 people. So we go 100 people and we're going to do our research. We're going to find out the United States of America, what percentage of the population falls victim to colds, respiratory infections, and flus. Right. Yeah. And now I'm like, okay, well, these people, need these treatments. They need these medications. They need these doctor visits. We're going to say all of the bare necessity requirements for fielding 100 people. And you add up all of that cost, so the percentage of people that you're insuring. Right? Yeah. So let's just say it's $10,000 for 100 people to have the required amount of pharmaceuticals and doctors' services and whatnot. So you look in your spreadsheet and you go 100 people, you have $10,000, and you find out what your costs are. So let's just say you have $100 for 100 people. What now have I generated from charging you a premium? I've generated $10,000. So I'm at equal. And I'm like, well, I got people in my office that have to work and be paid. I got materials and marketing and all of this kind of stuff. Here's my total cost on your spreadsheet. Maybe in addition to $10,000 in rendering services, I also have $10,000 in overhead. So it's really, my margin is costs are equal to what the level of care is. So now I'm like, okay, well, $200 lets you stay in business. You're not making any profitability. So then we decide what's the correct margin on any given product. Correct margin would be, would you say 25%, 30% someone can charge on it? So now we're going to allow you to do $230 for a premium to cover everybody on your table for coverage of services. That means services get paid for, your overhead gets paid for, and you get 30% profit at the end of the day, right? Yeah. Now, every year we have to relook at things and see, did your costs go up? Well, then all you have to do is find out why your costs went up, right? Keep them in line with what you were choosing, put pressures on people to keep costs contained, and have competitors that then have the same opportunity to serve those same 100 people and try to do it for less than these people are. So if I'm like, hey, I'm charging $230 for my premium, but that guy over there is doing $200, then he looks over at his sheet. And regulators allow them to look at somebody who's doing a model that's working out better than theirs and see what they're doing different. Oh, okay, we were doing pizza parties on Friday and it was costing us and our premiums have to go up. Should that be included in the cost that the end premium payer is going? Not at all. If I want to do that, that's got to come out of my 30%, not the consumer's 30%. And again, we can have auditors and people that can teach companies how to do business the right way, rather than insulate certain companies and let them run away costs because nobody's looking at their books, nobody's looking at operations, and they're making exclusive deals where those people never get competition. They're in their own bubble where we allow their costs to go up like 2 exponents, and nobody says anything to them. We're like, oh, consumer, you just got to pay more. And the consumers don't get to ask, like, why am I paying more? Like, what cost? See if I agree with your costs.
Yeah. Oh, because we had to raise our prices because of this. Well, I don't agree with that. I don't want to pay for that. Well, too bad. We're doing
but
it.
if you have the chance to go over to XYZ company that's not going to put that extra cost on you as the premium payer, then you get to penalize the people who are doing bad things.
Maybe I have a whole bunch of brick and mortars and I got to pay to keep those places open. And my competitor is all remote and virtual and doesn't have to charge that. Exactly, so he's less. Now I have to say, well, what do I think is better? A brick and mortar and a real life in person you can come and see if you have an issue, or you'd risk that by not having the personal touch because you're dealing with somebody remote. And that can play itself
And maybe
out.
There'll be a Timex and a Rolex. Maybe you don't care about premiums and you'll pay the pizza party insurance company. Great. And maybe you're like, I don't want to pay that much and I'm willing to make concessions on the services that are rendered and have more bare bones. So I'm going to pay that one and let the marketplace figure out who should stay in business and who shouldn't.
Yeah. I mean, I've dealt with companies where it was like, I could get it a little cheaper if I go here. But if I pay a little more, I have the peace of mind of having a direct place to go and handle business with. I'll do that. And just let somebody decide, like, does it make sense? Does the extra cost make sense to you? Is it something you're willing to pay for? Yes or no? Not like you have no option. It doesn't matter what you think. Somebody else who is totally unaffected by it is going to go ahead and drive up the cost, et cetera.
Yeah, but it shouldn't affect you. If Rolex people get affected by other Rolex shoppers, and Timex people get affected by other Timex, and let you choose which one you want to be part of. So when Vivek says that, and he's a politician, so he understands the strategy of like, if you can get costs to come down, it benefits your party because you're more electable when costs are lower. How you achieve those costs is the only thing that I'm going to push back against.
Yeah, it's seemingly costs are lower. It seemingly more affordable. Like that to me is like what one side keeps, like that's their bread and butter, is look at how this number went down and that looks good. And don't look at how we got the number down.
That's exactly right. And consumers are really good at getting hoodwinked, and they vote for things and they support things that are not really in their best interest. And if they would just ask a smart person, like what was really good about everybody from boomers older, they were really good when they knew they didn't have a specialization, when they didn't know something, they were really eager to ask someone who was smarter than them. And they had the humility to be able to do it. And anybody that is younger than them, they think they know it all. They have a really inflated perspective on how intelligent they really are. And when they fumble, right, so long that they're only ruining their own yard, no big deal. But when they F it up for everybody else, I got to start having a problem with it, because it was your dumbness that got you in the predicament, right? Not me, not you. Your arrogance got you in that predicament.
That's why everybody needs a Joe Danier, Mr. Miyagi. I call Joe my Mr. Miyagi because I know I can be a tad emotional sometimes, a tad. I am more emotional. I can come to Joe and be like, this feels this way. It seems this way. What's the actual situation? And logical Joe can shove emotions aside and be like, regardless of how it feels, here's what it is on paper. Make that decision.
That's exactly right. And that's what logic does to you. Is I'm not trying to, hoodwink you. I'm just giving you the data and sharing why I would make a decision on that data. Even if I don't benefit from the information that is pure, really, let's just say, let me think of an example that I would go against my own self-interest. Oh, I got one, like my computer thing earlier in my career, right? And someone asked advice from me. Hey, I'm looking to do XYZ and I want to buy a computer. Should I buy that computer from you? Right? Mm-hmm. Typical people, typical dumb people, they have an interest. If they buy it from me, I make money. If they don't buy it from me, they don't make money. And so the short-term version is like, yes, you should absolutely 100% buy that computer from me. I want to know if it's true. Should you buy a computer from me? Yeah, I'm just getting on the internet. Like, yeah, you don't want to buy a computer from me because you're going to pay about 50% too much for it. You need bare bones, something you can pull off the retail shelf, benefit from what retail does on the value on the end. Buy it from them. Now, my information did not benefit me at all. I lost a sale because I told you the truth that you absolutely didn't need me. But that person that I gave that advice to, you know what they end up doing? They dig when you have good people in society instead of the secular wasteland that we have right now.
Yeah.
When somebody gives you something and then you realize that they didn't benefit from the information, but you got to benefit because you knew that person, you dig for reasons to do more stuff for that person, and you find a way to pay it to them.
Yeah.
Right.
You're like, I trust you now. I want to give you business. I appreciate what you do.
Exactly.
And I will support you in this.
So I had decades of people that I passed up on the short-term gain for it to show them that I was reliable, trustworthy, and I would give them truth. And they spent decades paying me back for giving up the quick sale to them.
Yeah. And I feel like we still see that today in your business. Even if someone's like, hey, I'm in the market for a whatever, I need this. Can I get it from you? Yep. Can I go get it myself? Yep. Oh, I can? Yeah. You can go get it yourself. Oh, well then why would I use you? Well, because if you don't know what you're doing, we're here to help. If you buy something wrong, we can't help you then. We didn't buy it for you. If you need this done with your old device, we can help you there. Here's everything. Or do it yourself. It's just information. And they appreciate that and will say, oh, you know what? You're right. I do need help.
Yeah,
and I would rather pay more for the help.
But it requires society to churn out people that have a soul that way and can see the value in, trusting somebody else to do something on your behalf. And if the marketplace and the people beat up everyone to a certain level, then you've commoditized everything.
Yeah.
And now information isn't valuable and research isn't valuable. And, somebody counseling you isn't of value because all you've done is made all numbers equal zero. So I'm no different than the car salesman who absolutely, this car that we're 10 feet away from is the perfect car for you. Then it blemishes what I'm trying to do, which be honest and have integrity. You reward that dude who's an idiot, right? And don't know the difference between somebody who's an idiot and someone who's honest and intelligent.
Yeah.
It ruins everything.
Because even though we have those really great scenarios of somebody that appreciated the help and now wants to support you, for every one of them, there's probably 5 that now see I got something free and I'm going to keep. Okay, now what should I do? Okay, now what? Okay, now can you do this? Okay, and they push a little more. And then if you do say, okay, well, at this point, I really do have to charge for services. We've had so much time put into this. Oh, I can't believe you wouldn't just give me that for free.
When you deliver me a bunch of secular assholes, I have to put more time in defending against my integrity because those commodity people are just looking to use people up. They're not looking to shed costs and be inconvenienced. And that's the whole premise of this discussion, whether it be Lordstown and the blue hairs that can't see outside of themselves and looking to do good for other people, even if it costs them something. It's the same theme. Like these self-interested people, and I'm not putting Vivek in there. He's just a politician. And I don't expect politicians to do anything that serves other people without finding some kind of value that they get out of it in return.
Yeah.
But I don't want to live in that society when everybody's just making decisions based on their own interests.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I took what Vivek said as, here's what we have to make it seem. The other side is very good at making things seem a certain way. Logic doesn't work. We've tried to explain why this doesn't work, why this isn't real, how this will benefit you later, and it just doesn't seem affordable at the time. I guess we got to go ahead then and dance around it and make things seem that way, which is a shame because, again, you just kick the problem down the road. Kick it down the road.
So do you think President Trump is doing things that have a net value, net positive in the future where energy costs come down, grocery costs come down, insurance premiums come down, all of the consumer-based things? Do you think they have a good chance of actually coming down without subsidy?
It feels that way at times. From what little I know about it, and I say little because I'm not involved in doing it, to me, it felt like there was a long game plan. This is going to hurt a little now because we're trying to fix the problem so that we're not here again.
Right.
Instead of comfy now, keep the problem alive.
Well, here's the upside downside. I think all the right moves are being made. A couple of them are a little half-assed, but we are like a year away from midterms. And if this stuff doesn't come to fruition in the next 12 months, Republicans are hosed and effed. No matter if it would have worked out in the long term.
Yeah.
If you can't get this shit to have teeth by the time midterms come around, it's done deal.
Unfortunately, you've got to make it feel a certain way. People aren't looking at the logic. They're not looking at the data. It is, do I feel more stressed? Do I feel more strain? I don't care why. I do. You must have been the wrong choice. And if someone's like, here you go. Here's some relief for you. Oh, thank you. I feel better. You're the right choice. Yeah, wait until you get a year down the road and you see where I got that from. And you're like, oh, shit.
Well, we'll use data centers as our deal. So is the United States, is it the best place to put data centers? No, it's the most expensive place to put data centers.
Okay.
Right. Let's just say we went back to policies of over a year ago, and there were no real tariffs to be able to sell products to places like China. If we went to China and say we need 100 data centers all set up in the middle of nowhere, they have no environmental controls, they have slave labor, they have easy access to every technical gadget and all the energy that you could ever get because they have no restraints that we do. Mm-hmm. We could probably do 50% of our costs by just outsourcing all of our data centers to China. And we didn't do that. We're like, let's do some homegrown data centers. Let's use our own chips. Let's use our own vendors. Let's set this up on our own communities. It's going to cost more regulations. It's going to be more effort to be able to get it to happen. But we want this to be United States jobs, manufacturing, and whatever. Right.
Yeah.
So while you're waiting for this industrialization to roll out, you got to be patient and let it fully roll out. And you got to keep the rest of the world at bay so they don't, when you're just there, gang tackle you and take the advantage that you earned by taking the risk and making the first step. Right. So, but I don't think that's going to happen within the next year. So fuel costs, do you think fuel costs are going to come down? Do you think retail goods are going to come down? None of it within the next year has a chance of coming down.
Yeah.
So you're going to almost, if you're a politician, you're going to have to inauthentically get prices to come down to where they will inevitably be, right? As a fake version of what you've been preaching that would happen. So if we drill in the United States for oil, and we put our own oil into refineries, and then refineries end up on the retail side of things. But when we're used to getting big barges that come up to the United States, dump off their oil to the refineries, and then get put into distribution, how long do we have to wait now for all of the infrastructure that supports developing and distributing our own oil to go into business, get through the regulations, hire their people, and really start feeling the effects of stuff that was distributed down the road rather than from another country? Not a year.
Takes time.
It does.
And I think that's something, I mean, I've literally heard Trump say, this takes time. This will take time. Mm-hmm. We're all going to see it, but it's going to take time. Unfortunately, we're dealing with a country full of people that I don't want anything to take time. I want to see a benefit now. And if I don't, you must have done something wrong.
But the political calendar says that, let's just say the costs aren't in line, and the Democrats are going to point out, all of the higher costs that we're paying right now. And then they take over the House. What do you think happens to that agenda the minute that it's not under Republican control? It's done. You might as well not even have started it if you didn't have a plan for making it happen before you lose control of the legislature.
Yeah.
Because we're going to be in the midst of wrecking everything, disrupting everything for the sake of us, getting the gains from it. But you didn't have enough time for it to come to fruition. So they're going to hack it off. Right.
Yeah.
And then it's going to even get worse because now we're going to have another, more beta, more chaos, more unknowns, and the costs are even going to go up further. This scares me. The way that we are scares me more than anything else.
It does. And part of me thinks I didn't get super worked up after these results because I tell myself, look, this is not new. We go one direction, we flow in the other direction, then we flow back to the other direction, and we flow in the other. Everybody who loses an election screams and cries and shouts it's going to be horrible and chaos. And then when their side wins an election, the other side screams and cries and yells, everything's horrible and there's going to be chaos. So what will actually unfold? But what the biggest scariest problem is, like you said, is there's nothing we can do.
Right. Except be pissed off and get in front of a microphone and complain
There's
about it.
nothing. Like, I don't want to say like voting doesn't matter. But do you feel like it matters when, regardless of what size you put into power, any progress will be undone? And then the other side will come in power and that'll get undone. And then this gets undone again. And it's just like, doo-dah, doo-dah. Like, it's just every election's the same bullshit and nothing actually gets done.
That is true.
And everybody that has the ability to actually create change is in it for themselves, and they'll never vote themselves out, and they'll never vote for anything better, and they'll never vote for change, and there's nothing we can do.
Yeah. I'm going to read back through. We got a billion.
Yeah, we got a lot.
Effing ranting. The elephant in the room is that there's no longer a national identity. As a result, no one is willing to pay the monetary and emotional cost to move with common goals. We're so fragmented that we'll never recover. It's exacerbated by a sad reality of corrupt career politicians.
Yeah.
And I could go on another half-hour rant just over that. So when it comes to nationalism or national identity, you have 50% of the people that think that our identity should be splintered in 90 different directions and no such thing as culture, 500 different languages, do whatever you are. Diversity is what makes us strong. Every time I hear those words, that is a person that in their brain and their emotional little estrogen brains, it felt nice to say those things. But in reality, what keeps a country as big as ours together is shared ideals. Like, you and I can agree that certain things should happen, and we fight to keep them happening, and certain things shouldn't happen, or certain things shouldn't happen, and we fight against those things to make sure they're not.
Mm-hmm.
But the radical progressives, they love the chaos of throwing something in there that shouldn't be, because the drama that it creates between, I know you're a racist, Kellen, and I just know it, and it would bring me great joy to put something in front of you that illustrates just how racist you are. And I live for it, because if I can out you as being a racist, then it's been confirmed and I can be right. And I can be, I could be notable in some way. So if we're like, hey, we're going to have a really important meeting. Okay. And I'm like, okay, well, the meeting is what's important. I just have to make sure that everybody shows up to the meeting, has a set of standards. Like, we know what we shouldn't do. Like, so if one guy thinks that meetings are best held when we have sword fights in the middle, that could create some chaos that can undermine the purpose of the meeting. So we don't want any sword fights breaking out during the meeting. So all speaking the same language, like having everybody on the, being able to communicate what they're without interpreters or, people going to Google Translate. That's another, little bullet point, but let's make sure we can achieve that on the bare minimum. And maybe having how meetings go, like in the House of Commons, if everybody just, when they need something, they scream it out and yell at each other, versus you hit a little button, your light comes on and we call on you and then you share your thing. So set of standards that all of us have agreed that this is how a meeting's going, right? Yeah. Now, if you're a progressive, not, mind numb Gen Zer, right?
Yeah.
The chaos is what you're infatuated with. So you want the meeting with sword fights and no common language and everybody screaming everything out. You love the chaos that is. So you can say all of the things that you want to say because you've created the entropy that lets you claim those things. Versus the person is like, okay, there's going to be some differences that are out of control, but there are certain things that we can maintain as control so that the purpose of the meeting is done. All those other things are not important. Purpose of the meeting is why we're here.
Yeah. It's like the epitome of like too many cooks in the kitchen. One group wants that. The other is like,
lives for
doesn't
it,
work out. Yeah.
And so, when you say something like, well, the United States, you could speak as many languages as you want, but let's make it so that you speak English so that you could do business with everybody else. You can make requests, you could speak with everybody, whatever. And if you don't want to speak the language, then you can't get to certain benefits until you learn how to speak the language. It seems cruel to say that because you're picturing a person that didn't have enough time to learn the language or whatever. Like if you plopped me in Italy right now, I would not be very effective because I don't speak the common language there. So I either got to come to terms that if I'm going to go to Italy and they speak a certain language, it's up to me to learn how to speak Italian so I can participate. Or I'm like, I don't want to learn any language. So I'm going to force everybody in Italy to learn English so that I could participate.
Your whole country cater to me.
Exactly. So that diversity thing, that fragmenting of the standards, and I don't care what I have no affinity for English. Just so happens that it's the lowest hanging fruit, that if that's the majority of speakers, right, then that is the common language that I would learn how to speak if I wanted to do business here. I would not force and coerce other people to do something because I have a lack in my ability. If I want to, if I'm an Italian speaker, I'm going to do business in Italian speaking countries, period. And if I go outside of that, it's on me to be able to learn a language from another country.
And there's that fight again too of the emotion versus the logic, because somebody who's trying to win against you is going to be like, well, you're a clear bigot.
That's exactly right.
And you think everybody should just be the way you are, and you just want one religion and one language and one whatever because it's the one you like. And you're saying, I want these things because it makes sense.
Yes.
Because why would we make 1,000 people change so that one doesn't have to?
Well, and if you took a strict democracy and you just put it up to vote, right? You're like, hey, you know what? We got all these languages. It's getting in the way of things. We're not getting stuff done. So pick a language. Don't care which one it is, but let's agree with it. Yeah. So the logistics person would probably put all of the available languages. We'd poll everybody out and find out. Now, does it make sense to start with a language that is in the minority? Like Swahili probably has a 1% contingent here. So it's on the list, right?
Yeah.
Versus English is 95% of the people that live here. From a logistics, like which one's easier to achieve? Converting 99% of the public to be able to speak Swahili, because I don't care. It could be Swahili.
Yeah.
Just let me know what it is. Or would it be easier to take the common language and roll it out to the 5% or 1% of the people who don't know it? Way bigger, easier of an undertaking to standardize it by rolling it down from the low-hanging fruit downwards.
Yeah. Agreed.
Religion. Right. And what role that it plays foundationally in our country. Can we agree that everybody's just 100% free to practice whatever religion they care about so long that it doesn't affect anybody else?
Yeah.
Okay. What about religions that require you to mess with other people for the sake of your religion?
Now we're going to have a problem.
Okay. So if I'm one, you're the other, and mine says that you shouldn't be alive, and I try to unalive you because my religion told me so, that is extended beyond me. And I can't just unalive you as a diversity of religion, right?
Yeah.
If my religion calls for me to pray in the middle of the street at 5 o'clock every day, and while I'm praying, I'm creating traffic snarls and whatever, now you've affected other people. So practice religion that nobody can even tell what religion that you're practicing. You don't have to make any special accommodations for the religion that you practice. Do it in your own backyard and nobody cares.
If having those strict guidelines on your religion that you must do this, there are countries that will follow you and go along with that. Ours is not for that.
All right. Culturally. All right. My culture says that you can have 18 wives, right? Mm-hmm. Your culture says that you have one wife. All right. Should I be able to practice my culture where I take on something different than you? If I have one checkbox, so long that affects no other people, right?
Yeah.
You are free to practice it. If it affects other people, that's where my red line is. So does pluralism, or what is that called? Polygamy. Yeah. Plural marriages or polygamy. Do you agree with that we should let the Utonians do their thing, or does it ill affect society to have multiple wives?
Having not truly looked into it, so a shallow understanding of it, it doesn't seem like a great idea. It doesn't seem to ever really work out that well.
Okay.
From a social standpoint.
So if I told you that there were 1,000 practicing polygamists in Utah right now, and you've never seen any effects from it whatsoever, why would you care what somebody's doing right now that's not affecting you?
If it's not hurting anyone else, like I said, from a social standpoint, do I think those marriages and those relationships are strong? I don't. But is that their problem and no one else is brought into that problem? Have fun with that.
Except like if they extended it where every guy had 100 wives and they were scooping up all of the blonde hotties out there, and so there was no blonde hotties for the rest of us, then I might start taking exception with that.
You're like, this isn't fair.
Come on, be Be kind.
Quit being
and share.
selfish.
Freaking share. Okay, then other cultures, and we're going to use language here that doesn't get us banned from social media. All right. So there are cultures that that lower the age of consent, right, to real low. Culturally, very inappropriate and
illegal.
Something that we would not we would have a problem with.
Yeah. That's affecting other people. So that's the issue.
Okay. All right. Let's read some more comments. Let's see. Julie says, let's look at the pattern of Dems versus Republican regimes in the economy. Dems win every time. Yeah, when you blast free money into economies and they respond that they like that, no shit. When you do it authentically and we know where things are at without the blasting money into it, even if it's worse, I feel better about it because at least I know it's true.
I can remember years ago when Obama was president. I remember I was working for a company and the HR person gave me my paycheck and I was like, hey, why is this a little more? And they're like, oh, actually, they're taking fewer taxes out now. Obama just passed something that you're now not taking this out of your paycheck. So it'll be in your paycheck. And I was like, oh, thanks, Obama. And she was like, it's not free money. This will be paid elsewhere. Like that's the epitome, I feel like, of people being like, oh, look how cheap this was. Things are good. And it's like, no, it's not free money. It's not going to be good.
Yeah. And most people will choose the illusion if it feels like something's cheaper, even though it's fake. And it's really like, if you look through founding documents and the conversations that would be had about taxation and how people are to be managed and how cities and federal government exchange, you will see all their concerns as they're being revealed today. So I would love to be able to take one of our founders and like put them in a time machine and bring them back to today and just give them a tour of everything that we're doing and say, how do you feel about this? Like take your 1800s or 1700s brain. And what's your hot take on what we're doing right now?
Do you think they'd cry?
Dude, they would go back and decide not to make the United States and say, hey, you know what?
Butterfly effect.
If we can only keep our shit together for 200 years and not lose the entire country through stupidity, then it's not worth doing. Think, my brother, he died for this cause, right? And then you got some brain dead Gen Z person who will give up what he died for absolutely for free if somebody gave him a Pop-Tart. Like, not going to do it. So I think that's how it would go down.
There's a whole bunch up top. Should we start?
We should.
All these people we didn't mean to skip y'all.
Yes, we did.
Pure joy this morning. Derek's campaign team are a collection of diverse, hardworking rock stars who care about our community. We sure are. Finally have an honest man where one needs to be.
Hey, what happened to Tito's car? I don't know. Do you think that was true? Water department money was used to purchase a vehicle. Of whether or not that vehicle then becomes the possession of the next person,
property,
or does that become a personal vehicle? Because if I were Derek and that Cadillac became mine, I would auction that sucker off, put that back into the coffers, and make a huge deal about how we don't take luxury vehicles as a benefit of being mayor. So that's a good point. Joe, as much as I would have loved to have a data center here, other communities that allowed these data centers to build up are regretting their decision. 50 jobs added to have increased electricity costs for citizens, noise pollution, and other known issues. We already have an increased electricity cost. But yes, I agree with that. And that all my requirements is you have the conversations about those concerns. So if Tennessee, they had an area that couldn't produce enough electricity, and that's a cautionary tale. And then you find out what other communities did and say, all right, let's build into our contract so that doesn't happen. But the mind numbedness is when you say across the board, no, it's only 50. Like Lordstown is, they had 10,000 employees that came into town with a huge facility, a car manufacturer, right? Mm-hmm. So if they were sitting there thinking like, we're not going to let anybody in our community unless they can bring 10,000 people, you'll scoff at the little 50 tech people that are running your data center. But collectively, if you're talking thousands of these data centers spread all over the United States, when on the aggregate, right, you're going to have the same amount of people, just not concentrated down the road. They love the taxes from GM. They were willing to tolerate a whole lot. They were their poster child for what we want, right?
Yeah.
High paying, high tax revenue corporation. This little data center is only going to employ 50 people. We don't want that.
So ignore any potential because there were missteps.
It's only 50.
Instead of being like, okay, well, here's something with potential.
That's exactly right.
Here's some of the things that went wrong with it. So let's retool, figure out how to avoid that, but still keep the potential.
Exactly. I would, if Lordstown took all of their concerns, right, and they had debates about them and they got responses, and if they would have decided, yeah, you know what, I think our community is too small. You're not going to be able to place this far enough away from residential. The decibels that it's going to be creating with the fans and all of the pumping and the generators that are happening, it's going to be too much for our community. We went through the due diligence and we decided that we're not going to do it. And here's why. I'd feel completely different about it than saying, hey, I'm an old fogey and I don't like inconveniences. I'm going to petition so it never has a chance. That's what I'm disagreeing with.
Yeah, this is sort of like really showing how little of the population are actually true entrepreneurs. Because how many people are willing to try something, have it not go quite right? So you tweak it, try it again. Oh, here's another issue. Tweak it, try it again until it's good. Most people are like, oh, we tried it. This didn't go right. It's a terrible idea. Kill it.
Yep. But you wouldn't trust that population. We'll use VHS tapes, right? It was VHS, then it was DVD, Blu-ray, and then streaming, right? Mm-hmm. What if, like, Mr. Old Fogey decided that he had a VHS collection of all of his favorite movies ever. So someone comes to town and says, hey, we're thinking about doing this digital DVD. And that person's like, I'm not buying all new stuff. No, let's stop this DVD thing. Screw you. I've got it. You're going to make all this stuff and create all this plastic. And then, jobs are going to get created and I don't benefit from them. No, they would have stopped this VHS tapes because they were cool. Everybody that's making money on DVD, Blu-ray, and streaming, right, would be deprived because of that idiot not being able to get out of himself and give to the next generation as an advancement. And
he couldn't even see that what he's finding to be a problem is no longer going to be. Look at all the plastics. We have something now that we don't have to worry about that. But you didn't want to get there.
Exactly. That happened with flat screen TVs, right? The first flat screen TVs came out. They were $10,000. They showed up in Best Buy and you had these. They were not bad. They were plasma televisions, $10,000. Everybody was like, we shouldn't make flat screen TVs. Nobody will afford any of those suckers, right? Mm-hmm. And if it were left to the blue hairs, right, they would have said, nope, doesn't make any sense for me. I don't need it. I'm not paying for it. Screw it. Put them out of business. Petition them so they never. Now you can get an 80-inch TV for $400, right?
Yeah.
Where the $10,000 one was literally 30 inches. I can remember seeing it on end cap at Best Buy. And I was like, who would ever buy a 10? But without the version that was not great, you would have never got to the version that all of us depend on today because of those old fogies. Sorry, old fogies. I don't mean to pick on you, but
old fogies.
Didn't Lordstown build one power plant and then they fought to not expand for a second plant? I can't recall the second plant ever was built. I'm genuinely surprised that any power plants are being built. It's almost like the government, states and federal government do not want us to create power. We bought into the green new scam so much that we thought solar panels was going to have us good, right? Windmills, wind turbines, they're going to have us good. So we're like, hey, let's bail on nuclear. Let's bail on natural gas. Let's bail on coal, even if they've innovated to the point where they're just as good and they don't create the pollutants that they once did. And let's bring them in our communities. And then, hey, you guys need some power. Building a power plant in the United States takes 20 years. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to put a power plant in your community so you guys can have some output there. But talk to me in 20 years when you can actually use it and do something with it. Shorten that shit. Like if we look over in China or we look at any emerging markets that are throwing up power plants that we did during our industrial or after the Industrial Revolution, and if they can accomplish it in 5, you got to figure out why it takes 20 years here in Ohio and 5 in another country and figure out, see if we can speed it up a little bit and create more power. So if we have grid problems or we have, manufacturing, you create an oversupply and you keep building more power plants as the demand increases. And with data centers, power is going to increase. So that I think it was either Tennessee or Kentucky. A data center was put in a community, and when they made the agreement, the city could not support the data center. So they made an agreement with the community to increase their power generation, right? And the data center said, what we're going to do is we're going to put 20 power generators that are, I believe they were liquid natural gas, and we're going to run our own power outside of it. We're going to have generators that are outside of it. And that we'll do that for like a couple years, but get your own production going so that we won't need our generators because it's too costly to do it that anyway, but we're willing to do that, right? And the city couldn't keep up. They didn't advance. They didn't create any more power. So now that data centers actually added more generators than when they first built, because the city's part of the obligation was to create more power and they couldn't keep up with it. So that is going to be a part of the argument is, if I were putting a data center, I would be really interested in the consumption rates of that area. So if we have the ability to create power and we're only at 40% capacity, I know I can tap in with that 40% capacity, bring it up to 80% without messing with anybody's consumption rates. I'll pay the regular rate to everybody, maybe even a little bit more because I'm taking some. You can invest in your infrastructure and 2 years from now, I'm probably going to need more. So start building more with the extra money you're going to make because I'm buying your stuff that was going unsold before, right? Yeah. And that would be a good example of how we could solve our energy issues by using data centers to keep ramping up production. But it's the other direction where municipalities and these small communities are so inept that even if they wanted to generate some power for it, they wouldn't even know what to freaking do. And the federal government will keep them hamstringed so that if they wanted to and knew what to do, they wouldn't give them the permitting or give them the nice runway to get it accomplished. So anyway. You got me on. I blame you for today.
This is my fault. It's always my fault.
Plus, if you want to attract more tech jobs, having an undesirable place to live isn't a great idea. I've been in an airplane. I've flown over this United States. The occupied areas are dwarfed by how much space is available. Whether it be federal land, like that would be great use for federal land, is put up a couple of power generation or data centers on all of this federal land that the government's just, refuges and elk territories. And
why is it? So what makes it undesirable? He says this place is vacant of tech jobs.
So the three things that I mentioned: 1, heavy power consumption; 2, noise; and 3, traffic. So if you have a city that only 10 people drive through and it automatically goes to 100, now you have traffic congestion where you didn't have it before. Number 2 is it makes sound. And it's not even going to say sound. I'm going to say vibrations. If you're near a data center that is not properly sound insulated, you can hear the whirring of fans and the pumps and all of the electronics that are going on, and you feel it for a period. So go to a data center, find out where it can be sensed or felt by somebody, and set a perimeter around it so nobody builds near something that they're obviously going to feel the effects for. That's a conversation to be had, not a blank check. I don't want this thing in my neighborhood. Find the data first before you say no.
Oh.
Yes, Ralph, I'm very pissed off today. I apologize. When the people who should vote don't vote, this is what you get. Yeah. What was it? 10% of the city residents of Youngstown voted. Like it was 8,900 out of 60,000 voting residents.
Really?
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
What you said. It's politics. Like nothing ever really changes.
Yeah. They think it's pointless.
I'm going to leave my house to go do something that's not going to change the dynamics of how I live my life. It could be, an AI robot doing it. And it's not going to be any better or worse. So people have given up that vote is connected.
Because what happens if somebody comes out to vote for something that they think, like you said, has so much potential and this could be good, let's go ahead and do it. We vote yes. But because it takes time, by the time it's really going, here's the new election season. Oh, we don't like where this is going. We vote no and it's killed.
Yep. Politicians squandered people's will to be participants. That's what it is. Impressed with Joe and his versatility going from the MLO Bros one day to Kellen. Yeah, it's like 17 IQ points between shows.
I was going to say, I'm curious about this comparison.
Yeah.
What is MLO Bros versus Kellen? What is that demographic?
The people who listen? Okay, so it's the difference between let me take like a video. Okay, so a car crashing into a herd of donkeys is the MLO Bros, right?
A car crashing into a herd of donkeys.
Yes. And the Kellen and Joe show are someone's doing an alteration on a car that gives it the ability to traverse space and time. So watching these two videos of adding value and making something, work better versus the devastation and fire and explosion of the car.
I'm honored to be a part of the latter. Yes. I wouldn't have thought. But it's interesting because sometimes I'll watch MLO Bros and I'll think, are we not entertaining enough? Is that what the people want? Poop jokes and running and I don't know.
Well, that is what we've been charged with here, is to bring the attention to this kind of conversation where we don't I could very easily flash breasts, right? And do all of the easy ones, right? We can do that. We can do car crashes. Everybody can do car crashes.
Yeah.
But we're trying to get people conditioned in to upping the standards.
I feel like we're all about variety here.
Yeah.
Talk about diversity.
Yeah.
You've got MLO Bros.
Right.
You've got us. You've got sports. You've got toys. You've got Youngstown Studio is so diverse with its you could watch Jerry Springer and what's his name? Neil Tyson DeGrasse,
yes.
whatever, in the same week.
Yes. And everybody needs those dosages. If you just watch all Judge Judy, right? Then
Stephen Hawking first Jackass.
That's right. You need I
on
watch
one
them
channel.
Both. I watch them both.
Yes. On one channel.
You need different helpings. Things that stimulate you in one way, things that stimulate you in another way. You need both of them.
Giggity.
Stimulate. All right. Example is when Biden used our strategic oil reserves to keep gas prices down. Short-term solution, and I don't disagree. And in fact, I'm gonna probably guess that the Republicans are going to use some of that strategy to buy them more time until the realistic or the real cost gets to where that it should be. So long that we know that's what's happening.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Because remember way back when Trump was signing all these executive orders and one of them was Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America. And we had said, does this feel like Trump's version of throw crackers on the ground for the toddlers so daddy can get some work done?
Right.
It's almost like they are going to have to come down to a level that people will understand and be like, all right, here's your whatever. Are you good? Now I have to go fix some problems. They almost have to concede some in order to just make people feel good, if that makes sense. To be like, hey, look what they did. Look what they gave us. And it doesn't matter if it makes no sense. It doesn't matter if it's fake money. It's just, we got work to do. And this is the only way we can get the crying to stop, appease them, keep moving.
Yeah. I will not be happy with it, but I will understand why it's being done.
Yep.
Let's look at the patterns of, I did that one already.
Yeah.
Let's see. Hey, I can 3D print and design models. Would you have some ideas I could design, and what are your thoughts? As what you should do, what business should you get in, what industry should you pursue? Okay, so these industries that come out and there's some novelty to them, when you have someone who buys a $2,000 3D printer and they print tchotchke, right? Just little knickknacks and whatever. And you look at it and say, yeah, you can do it. And you're proving a concept that things can be printed in PVC. What's the real usability in the real marketplace?
Yeah.
And if you do it and sell these things for $7 a piece and whatever, I can see that's a little bit, it's cool. And without you, it would not progress very far. Right.
Yeah.
But then the Navy gets a 3D printer, and while they're at sea for 6 months, can print a bolt if something goes bad on their ship and don't have to return to port. And you're like, the tchotchke guy got us to the point where the Navy's actually using this in real life. We had a customer that did engineering and design on inventions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they used to have to take the designs and send it off to a prototype company, have to wait about 2 months, and then they would send them a plastic version of the prototype so they can show it off to investors. Well, they bought themselves a 3D printer, and now for about 70 cents, they feed in the CAD drawings of what they've already designed. The 3D printer spits out a prototype, and they can have it within 30 seconds of needing it rather than 2 months worth of needing it.
That's cool.
Without the tchotchke people, that wouldn't have even been an option.
Yeah.
So I consider everything from VR to 3D printing to quantum computers and AI as all very much on the pre-development side. In 10 years, you can make some speculation, but you don't know where they'll be. So if I'm putting money in it right now, I'm saying if somebody comes in and say, hey, my grandkid's about to graduate for college and he's got some skill sets in all these different departments, which one should he pursue? I'm going to say AI is number one at my list, because how many different people are going to need that specialty and how few of those people there are out there. So that's number one. High marketability, low cost of entry. You could learn. You and I could learn this stuff today. There's no barrier where you have to go to a college to learn it. You just have to have interest in it, dig into it, play with it, download it yourself, and you can get invested.
I keep seeing ads on YouTube for a seminar Tony Robbins is putting on, and some other guy, I don't know who he is. And it's AI. What do you need to know? How can you use it? Things you will need to understand.
Yep.
And it's like a virtual seminar people can watch. Would you recommend something like that? Like, people better sort of get in the know of where this is going and how they can best utilize it?
Yeah. And I look at it from a market perspective. As that person that asked, I've got a skill in 3D printing. Well, there's certain things that trigger in my brain. If you have the ability to do that, what capability do you have that most people don't? I'm gonna take that capability and find out where in the marketplace they need that skill set, right? Whether or not you go into direct manufacturing for yourself is not using the 3D printing skill set, it's using your business savvy. So if you don't have this business savvy, I wouldn't have you do that, because you're going to have inventory that you're going to be able to create without your ability to sell it. But if you have, for instance, let's just say a year from now, we have large scale printers, right? That use of concrete lay foundations for houses, and they actually 3D print houses. And I think that's going to be big industry. Well, your skill of printing in PVC proved the concept that you can throw designs in there. And, when you're printing in PVC and you make a mistake and have to start over, you're out 17 cents. If you're 3D printing a house and you have a mistake and you got to start from scratch, now you're talking thousands of dollars. So someone who's really good at the design side that feeds it into these industrial 3D printers, I need that skill set so that I don't lose a bunch of money trying to do something that's pretty new. So, all right. The founders would very much disagree with you, Joe, especially your beliefs that religion built our country's values. I don't know. Read those quotes, dude. And what was meant, not the establishment of a religion, but the virtues that are contained and put as part of those foundation were necessary, because everything else is predicated on having good people at the helms of those things, because they saw corrupted people that had godlessness. But I'm not okay. That's a harder charge. But you had what was happening in England and the corruption that was there just because of how many generations that they were in power. They looked at that as the biggest threat to liberties, and they wanted liberties and your free exercise of them to be a cornerstone. And I don't say that an established religion, but at least, like, if you're an atheist and I'm a Christian, right? You're going to ask me, like, what about your religion as Christian do you think should be foundationally? So I'll ask you something that we can share, even if we don't share the same religions. Do you think you should be able to murder people?
No.
It's a Christian belief, right? But we could both agree, whether or not you're a Christian or not, that you shouldn't murder people. That's probably good for society.
Yeah.
Should you covet?
No.
Okay, we both agree. If I didn't tell you that I was talking religion and I put the 10 Commandments up there, like 7 of those.
Yeah, I would even use a different word other than covet, because that sounds religious-y.
Whatever. Put it in terms. But we can agree there are standards that are foundational in religions that you can use, not even tell the person that they're agreeing to it on religious authority, but just on a standard of, I don't know, civil virtue is what you would call it. And so that we benefit right now from having all of those hundreds of years of it being part of a community. When you wash that out, we have not seen, right, where the next generation that is free from secularism and has a gray area response of what virtue even is, of what our foundations will look like. Will we pick off things that are necessary and mandatory for us not to be a civilization on the decline and part of a downfall? Or, will we at least acknowledge that there's probably a good reason that we can all agree on as that standard? I'll pull the religious bent in there, but you don't have to, is my end.
Yeah.
Multiple wives also have children, and their psychological effects being the only debate for should it be legal. Also, the question of consent being many married versus young in reference to Utah. But
married young.
And that's the question of like, what do you allow someone to self-condemn? Okay, so if you have a bad habit, and as long as your bad habit doesn't affect other people, you can go into your back room and do all bad habits as long as it only applies to you. But when you have the institution, the state, pick up, 4 people, you have 42 million people on SNAP EBT that can't feed themselves, right?
Yeah.
Do you have interest in creating more people that are dependent on you to put on SNAP EBT? That's the only reason that someone, if you make bad decisions and it leads you to a place where then I have to pay for your bad things, I've checked the box of now your decisions are affecting me and you can't do them anymore.
Yeah.
So if wives and children psychologically, if they self-condemn and it's only they're holding the risks and liabilities, I'll never know about it. So as long as you don't let me know about it, I don't care.
Yeah. If you want to, if you're a legal aged adult and you want to go buy booze and get wasted at home, that's on you. But the moment you get in your car and you go out into public wasted, not allowed to do that.
Nobody will judge you until there's a dependence that you can't participate. So if you get wasted and then your job is to come on Saturday and help me rake leaves, I don't care that you get wasted, but that doesn't, you don't get to shirk the responsibility of the dependence on you helping me with something.
If you say, I'm a raging alcoholic, I can't get my butt to work, and so I'm going to go ahead and just collect assistance.
So yeah, you can lecture people on it. Like, hey, you know what? If you take multiple wives, it's harder to keep the sacred nature of the institution of marriage and make it actually feel the benefits of that, because you got too many wives. There's no way a human being can invest in 18 different people, and the psychological returns on the kids that you would have with those 18 wives. You're going to put that in a huge. Once they get into society, they can correct themselves, but while they're under your care, you're going to put them at a big disadvantage when they go to participate on the outside world. And then I can lecture you, but I can't make you choose anything different if you're not breaking a law. So
yeah.
The bureaucracy has to be paid for major infrastructure projects. That's why it takes so long. Doesn't the Lordstown Foxconn plant have its own power plant on site? I believe that they are. That's what makes them attractive part of town, is that they had huge industrial activities that were happening there, which required a huge amount of power generation. And so if you don't have manufacturing lines anymore that's not consuming that power, it's usable by something else that comes to town. That's why they are such a good candidate, because they have utilities already. Joe, I got blocked by Tito campaign after I tagged Isaac. Yeah, they're not a real big fans of the MLO bros. Let's see. What are the viewership numbers though? What are the viewership?
Is that between MLO bros and us?
You do not want to know, because that will be, I would say 5-1. For every viewer that we have talking academics, and they have 5.
I would say I am sure MLO bros have more. Now, granted,
yes,
in our defense, since we talk about how things are measured, this show is streamed when you and I are on. It's on Youngstown Studio, probably your Facebook page, and then there's a Kellen on Air Facebook page that I have that it's also on. When MLO bros are on, it's this one, yours, Isaac's, Luke's, MLO's page. Is that more? I didn't even count.
So yes, it is more heavily distributed.
Yeah.
But our average viewer listener can stack blocks as 7 high. Luke and Isaac's average user can usually go about 3 or 4 before they start teetering. So there's definitely differences in audiences.
And I think the whole shock jock mindset, the Jerry Springer is, people will probably gravitate towards that before they're turning on C-SPAN.
It means thank God for Kellen. Yes, Kellen. You
thanks, Carter.
You up the average here. Mark says, Joe, give Tito Brown a talk show. Tito, and here's my big challenge with Tito. the first week he was in office, I stopped down to City Hall and I said, Tito, listen, we got a studio downtown and I want to make sure that you can communicate with your constituents. Why don't you come down, visit on a regular basis? We'll talk about the good things that you're planning on doing. We can have a megaphone for whatever the city is doing. So everybody can not only know you're doing it, but they can feel good about that stuff is being done.
You said this to him?
On the first week that he was in office. In his office, hand me his business card.
20-something years ago?
Joe, I'm in. Right?
Yeah.
And how many times do you think that he has been in this office? Twice. All right. Both of them when he was campaigning, and me directly, he's never agreed to talk him and I one-on-one. He has come down here after a third party negotiated it, and he showed up to have a debate or like a question and answer session. And that is I met him at a cigar bar one time and, gave him the same pitch. You got to come down and see me more often. We got to do some things together. Like the public is buying out of support, and you don't want to be on the downside of a campaign where nobody believes in you. The police will turn on you. Constituents will turn on you. It'll be bad for you. Why don't you come talk to me and we'll have a good, unbiased back and forth. Right.
Yeah.
And he never showed for that yet either. So yes, he has had more invites than any other politician in our area. And he has not exercised any of those invites at all. The most disappointing was when I put, and I don't remember what was going on, but maybe there's something bad happened in town. And I made him an offer before we went into the holiday season where they had a lot of events planned. I offered to produce and host and distribute marketing campaign for the city free of charge. I'm just going to help them push on all their events. All you got to do is come talk to me and give me the information. Crickets. So that's where I lost hope that it wasn't just that they didn't want to be inconvenienced by coming here. It's they must hate me. And I could say, I want to give you $1 million and they would turn up their nose from it. It's got to be that. So yes, no time soon is he going to come down here, I'm sure. We appreciate the show. Guess the morning coffee and a workout. Go have fun. Seize the day.
Yeah. Brian says the motorsport industry and starting to heavily rely on metallized 3D printing for actual low production parts. The materials available, what does that say? Inconel, etc. for the type of low quantity production is insane.
It's beautiful. I have a motorhome, and when shit breaks, 3D printer can just make me another one, and I don't have to go out and try to find the part.
That's crazy.
It's amazing.
I didn't even know you could do that.
Freaking amazing.
That is amazing.
And if you're in motorsports and you're like, hey, I have a theory for a new angle on my spoiler, and nobody makes one of these. So I either have to go find somebody to fabricate a spoiler that I'm having in mind, or I could just print one out on my own, test it, put it in the wind tunnel, take it on the track, and it ends up working out. Then I've essentially manufactured my own performance part, right? And all it took was the time to do it.
Yeah.
It costs next to nothing. And they can print in ceramic, metals, plastics. Like there aren't many materials that are just unprintable at this point.
See, and that's so cool. Like, I'm glad I know that now, because I have seen people, there's someone I know that like they go to local fairs and fall fests and they say, here are my little 3D printed tchotchkes, like keychains and maybe a little cute statue or home decor. And I'm like, oh, that's nice. I'm not buying any. I don't need that. Okay. But that to be like, here's a part that is needed. Let me go ahead and make it right now. Like that's crazy. That's awesome.
But it takes a couple of things. Like if you wanted, what would you have to do in order, let's just say you use your car and you get in your car and you pull your seatbelt down and there's a little guide, a little plastic thing that's up that guides your seatbelt across your belt and it breaks, right? Now you got a plastic piece. Now, normally, what would you go do? Take it to the dealership, say this thing broke, and they'd order you a part, and it costs $70, and you put it in there.
Spend a buttload of time and money.
Let's just say you can't do that. Now, what would you do if you had a 3D printer in your den? What would you do?
Well, I don't know how they work, but I'm guessing you can go make one.
Okay, so what's done is you take the original part, and they have a wand, a 3D printing wand, right? And
like a magic wand?
A magic wand. And so you lay it out on a background, and you take the wand over it, and it basically calculates the sizes, and it draws it within a CAD program. You flip it over, take another wand, and you assemble it in a 3D model. Now, the 3D model is the part that you just took off. Now it's in the computer as a whole object, right? And so you dress it up, you take the cracks out of the missing pieces, and you make it into a whole thing. Take the CAD drawing, and you send it down to a 3D printer, and it just replicates whatever it was given in that drawing. But even better, there is a whole library of things that if I did that little piece, I could put it into a library that's open for anybody to download. And so I would first, before I did my 3D printing one, I'd go look to see if there was a design for that thing already. I just download it, throw it in my 3D printer, and it prints out what I'm looking for, free of charge.
Is the person who invented this or the people who developed this, are they like billionaires? Are they like going to be just like, oh my God, what did you do to make your billions?
3D printing companies?
I invented 3D printing.
But most of these technologies, we can give credit to nerdy open source people. Because
you know what's funny? If someone's like, yep, I was the founder of 3D printing. It came from my brain. I did this, I did that. Look what it morphed into. And now we have this industry and I've made billions off of being able to have everybody help themselves. And then you know what we would do? Well, we better tax them and make sure they give their money away, because why are they a billionaire?
Yeah, open source is way better because it distributes all of that over tons of smart people rather than just one person who could decide they're not going to develop it any further. We're going to tax them out of existence. They could be assailed from taxation if it were just one. But open source is always better.
Interesting.
Did Tito give any kind of concession speech? I don't know, but we will cover it if he does.
He did. I saw on the news this morning, he said, I've been doing this for a long time and the people have spoken. And if they'd like to go in a new direction, then I support that. And thanks for all the years. But hey, it's time for new, fresh ideas. And I support that. And I think he said he's considering coaching Youngstown City football in the future.
And Carter says, Joe and Beatrice predicted Tito would win. What do you think happened? All right. I've been around politics my entire adult life. And so has Beatrice been around politics. And from a voter standpoint of how things work versus somebody who's been close to campaigns, how things work, I call it the backgate model. And backgate model, we'll go back to our motorsports and racing thing. So when you go to the racetrack, okay, and you look up at the stand, it's packed. And you think, wow, people really love motorsports. And has a huge fan base. Look at all these people that are buying shit and whatever. And then you go into the pits and look at the cars, right? And the cars have a driver and maybe a pit crew, but also they have family and they have friends and they have sponsors and whatever, right? And the racetracks are like, hey, you know what? We're going to put cars on our track that have a bunch of people that get involved. So we run these high-end modifieds that have like 2 people that show up, and they're really just corporate. So we get like 2 people that show up in this car. But these stock cars, like this is something that somebody can put together in their garage, and they had probably 50 people involved in putting that car on the track. We're going to invite hundreds of those. And then those people show up to watch their guy on the track that they helped build that car. We fill our stands through the back gate rather than the front gate, right? Politics works very similar. The people who vote for you aren't necessarily authentic, just casual voters. There's a group of people who have loyalty to something. So let's just say somebody's pro-union, right? And then so union writes out an email that says, hey, we got a union candidate here. Everybody that's in this union, stay loyal to this dude and go vote for them. That wasn't a casual voter. That was a backgate voter that was part of their institution. So you compare the years that Tito's been in office, the number of groups that will just vote for him no matter what, versus Derek, who had no institutional anything. He didn't have a party representing him. He didn't have unions. He didn't have a pro group anywhere. He had to win on all casual voters versus Tito's institutional backgate voters. And I thought that Tito was going to have an advantage. And Derek's surprised, and I'm happy that he did, but I think that's I'm very surprised that the institutional voters did not come out. The police and the fire department, and all of his administration, all of his friends didn't crush what Derek was authentically able to get to show up.
Why do you think that they didn't?
Because I think, the police department, where they were just demotivated by the administration. So if all of those people are like, I know I'm supposed to vote for him, but I don't even like him that much, and he doesn't do anything for me. I'm not going to vote for the other guy, but I'm just not going to vote. I think there was a lot of the apathy came from nobody was excited about Tito. That's what
So do you think even politics on all levels, even like federal or national or whatever, really they're more trying to see who can I capture as being that back gate?
That
the rest
politics.
Of you, the actual citizens of the United States.
Well, that is
I need
where
to
we're at. So like, let's just say the Vindicator, right? It used to be that if you got a newspaper to endorse you, then the readership sees that the paper did it, and I don't know enough about politics to know whether or not I should vote for this mayor, but the Vindicator did, and I read the Vindicator, so I go vote for it. So it's a captured audience that then does what that institution says.
Yeah.
Well, the Vindicator, nobody reads it anymore, right? And so just because they endorse it did not translate to people who mindlessly zombify, went in there and pulled the lever for Tito. I call it
zombie.
But you have everything from unions to the Black caucuses to Women League of Voters, all of these institutions that when they endorse, that used to mean something. And how many of those institutions publicly went out and said, vote for Tito, he's our guy? I didn't hear any.
It is interesting. I recently saw on Facebook a video of Ed O'Neill. Remember Ed O'Neill? He's an actor, married with children and Modern Family and all that. I can't remember what her name was, but he endorsed somebody locally. Because as most people know, or maybe they don't, Ed O'Neill is from Youngstown.
Yeah.
And I just found it interesting. And I like Ed O'Neill. I'm a fan. I like his shows. I don't feel one way or another about him. But I couldn't help but wonder, does he have enough pull in this area that his endorsement means something? I don't know. But I found that interesting. Like, how long has it been since you've been in Youngstown, Ed? Like, and no offense, again, I like him. But other than Modern Family, how long's it been since you've even done anything? But it's like, I'm going to use any pull to sort of endorse. And I feel like that is more of a politician's game than actually having anything that makes sense in reaching out to the people.
Yeah. Yeah. But it was no cost to Ed O'Neill. He can say it. It doesn't cost him anything with his career or whatever.
Yeah.
And if somebody local said, hey, you've got a good audience, let me rent your endorsement, and you throw him a couple bucks or do something for him, and he says, why would he not?
You speak to that older generation that remembers Ed's work.
Right.
And
yeah, he carries some weight, and it's a worthwhile, zero downside, and there's enough people that still know him that could have asked him to do it. So absolutely. Yeah, but you know, that again, that's another thing that is concerning of how much a contagion, how susceptible people are to inherit their beliefs from whoever tells them. So the authorities, what people will follow mindlessly because they don't know any better, right?
Yeah.
And so like when we were growing up, there was a lot of cultural things that we saw celebrities do, and then we watched people in society do those same things. We watched the Kardashians do, and it just contagion going right down through society. Yeah. And you can say
influencer is an actual career path.
And so how mindlessly people will follow those trends made its way out of pop culture and went into the political culture, because you have those same mindless people that are they like to feel smart, they like to feel like they're engaged, but they're still using the same sense of logic, right? Where I saw Michael Jackson wear a leather jacket, and so I wear a leather jacket too. I can control the shit out of you when I know that you didn't make that leather jacket selection until somebody who was an authority on fashion, even not a good authority on fashion, not even smart, not even really should be in an authoritative position at all.
Yeah.
But you will go like, Ed O'Neill told me to vote for Tito Brown.
I like him.
Tito Brown. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's disappointing. But as soon as you know that that's the case, you then choose to do it too, because it's extremely effective.
That's true. Would love for you guys to dedicate an hour or so towards open source.
I would. And it's sort of like when I talk about Bitcoin or any high technology, the viewers erode when we start talking to high academic topics like that. I've tried it in the past. I would be more than happy. I think maybe we should do a separate segment where I talk about open source.
I don't even know what that
is.
Huge
believer in it. So
I don't know if I could even.
There's traditional concepts, right?
Yeah.
Elon is an open source guy, and that's I have a lot of respect for it. And through the Industrial Revolution, we have more patents during the Industrial Revolution where I had an idea, and then so I would protect my intellectual property so that you couldn't just take the idea that I came up with and manufacture it and benefit from it. So that's a closed source where I thought of it. It's mine. If you want it, you got to license it or buy it. That's it.
Yeah.
Open source is the opposite of that, where I'm going to have an idea and I'm going to circulate it to as many people as I possibly can. So lots of people can create and they can make revisions of it, make alterations of it. And then so you've got thousands of people working on a concept rather than you and what you were capable of doing. In a closed source system, not every idea ever makes it to the shelf because it might be that was a good idea, but you lack something in your arsenal to be able to develop it in the marketplace. So you gave up on it. Open source usually gets out there and there's so many people working on it that it finds an eventual place on a shelf somewhere, even if one individual didn't make all the money or get all the notoriety from it.
So is this sort of like the argument of like who invented electricity? Or not electricity, but maybe I'm thinking the light bulb, where everyone's like, oh, he did it. No, he did it. Oh, well, he got credit, but he actually did it. It's kind of like, well, what did the original thought? Where did that go? What did you do with it?
Mm-hmm. Was it a usable product or did somebody pick up the mantle and legally keep adding to it? So that would be a little more open source, but Edison was a very big closed source guy. Lots of patents filed in his name to keep it exclusive to him and his creators. Thankfully had a great engineering and great laboratory scene. So a lot of those products did make it to the scene. But if you had one guy that didn't have access to resources and didn't have the ability to take it to fruition, it would have died with the original concept.
So 3D printing becomes a concept. Here's an idea I have. Here's some potential. I'm kind of stuck on what else to do. Allow someone else to come in and be like, ooh, I love your research. Let me build on it and bring it a little further.
Yeah. And even a hybrid model where you take something like for teachers, for instance, they every teacher writes up their curriculum or whatever they're going to be teaching for that year. So you have a lot of redundant work happening where there's tons of teachers working on the same grade level at the same, cities or states. And so what they do is they collaborate where someone will write something, they'll put it up into an open source program where somebody else can use their curriculum and they pay $1 for it, right? So it's a hybrid where it's not oppressively priced where, if I'm a teacher and I wrote it up and I can make $10 on it, it makes me want to do it again. So it gives you a little incentive that you got paid back for something you designed without it being like, I didn't keep it closed where you couldn't use it and protect it so that you could
kind of like using like stock images or, when you have that software where it's like, I didn't create this piece.
Yeah.
Somebody else did, and I'm allowed to use it.
Exactly. Stops the redundancy from happening and makes it a low barrier of licensing for using it. Open source is usually free reign. Somebody puts software together that they designed on the weekend, they put it out there and it is free to use by anyone as long as the original code, like there's still standards that you can't hijack it and make a paid product out of it. It has to stay an open source product, but it was designed to be an open source. OpenAI was that. So I take that back. OpenAI was developed as a nonprofit. So they were going to do AI design with, what's his name? What's the OpenAI? Ross? No, not Ross Albert. Anyway, so Elon kicked in a bunch of money, like $50 million or something for OpenAI. And then they decided at a certain point to go commercialized version of it. So they went from nonprofit where they got all their funding and then switched over and designed products that were for sale. So open source has the ability for someone to break.
Sam Altman.
There we go. Thank you. They broke the sort of like the honor system, the code of honor, that you wouldn't take an open source thing that a ton of people participated in only because you weren't going to charge for it somewhere down the road. And then they hijack it and make it into a paid product, and they ruin that whole concept.
Figures.
Mm-hmm.
There was a question up a little further. I didn't know. Somebody wanted, please do a segment for Pure Gold Salem. Help us bring justice to these horses. Do you know what that is?
Yeah, I believe there was a stable that did a lot of housing for other people's ponies. I call them ponies because I'm flippant.
Ponies.
So if you didn't have your own stable, you can rent their stable and have them feed and, put them out to pasture and all that kind of stuff.
Uh-huh.
Well, there was some death that happened where I think 3 horses were died and they I don't know the full story, but it would be worthwhile deal because there's some shenanigans that were happening at this place where horses were allowed to
do
die.
some investigative reporting.
Yeah. I don't know enough about it to do a whole segment on it, but we'll print some articles.
Send Isaac. He'll probably run there, like physically.
Physically run. All right. So Mondani wins. New York's on a trail of devastation for sure. What else is happening in the news that we haven't thought of or talked? Oh, the 50%. The government shutdown November 1st. You had EBT and SNAP that was supposed to go out. States have tried to organize some kind of distribution, and I believe that the USDA emergency fund is going to be used, but they're going to cut the benefits in half down to 50%. So if you got $1,000 check, you're going to get a $500 check. So it's a little bit better than having nothing, but it's not the full benefit rate. I think I calculated it as being like 19 days worth of benefits could be paid out of the emergency. This extends it now to a month and a half before that's exhausted. But they really need to figure out why there are so many damn people on this program, figure out the real cause of it. Because if you told me, if we would say, hey, we got 43 million and that's too much, let's get it down to 20 million, get some of these people who could be in the marketplace, get them into the marketplace and reserve that benefit for people who actually need it instead of it being corrupted and exploited.
Do we know when the government finally opens back up again and things get going, everybody that didn't get these SNAP benefits, do they get like some sort of almost like the equivalent of back pay or back what are they going to get, like if it's 2 months, like 2 months worth, or does it just start again?
I don't know.
Because that would be really interesting.
Because us as taxpayers, we are paying into a system, so it's still taken out of our check, which means the money that's allocated still goes there. When it reopens, that should just flood those benefits back out.
That's the biggest irk is when I hear that people are like, if we're not doing anything, what is our tax money going to? Why do we still pay taxes for nothing? Why do we still go to work without a paycheck, but they don't? Why do we? And like, it's so funny. My daughter this morning asked us, we were watching the news and she's like, is the government still shut down and why? Why is it shut down? And I was like, oh, here we go. And my husband's going on this long explanation and this clean CR, and then these people had to vote, but then this happened and they want this and they want this. And I went, listen, long story short, simplest answer, two sides are fighting and the American people are being held hostage.
Yes.
Two sides can't get their shit together. Mm-hmm. Neither wants to budge. They're fighting like children and there's nothing we can do about it. So what do you do to protect yourself from this? You don't rely on the government.
100%. That's the best advice you could have given them.
I looked at both my kids and I said, get a job, don't have babies before you're married, graduate high school, and don't do drugs. And you may not have to worry about this.
Yep.
I'm like, one other time we had to worry about it because my husband was active duty. He was military. And luckily it was a very, very short shutdown. USAA covered them, so we weren't as affected. I said, but other than people working in jobs like that,
don't give them responsibility.
I said, you work hard and then you let other people that truly need it, elderly, disabled, whatever, have it. You don't need it.
Glad Angry Joe has calmed down and is almost back to normal. Attitude Joe. Kellen was almost scared of Mad Joe right off the bat. Yeah, well, I gave her fair warning when she came in here. I said, I'm pissed off.
That's why I was like, I'm just going to smile and we're just going to sit here and I'm not going to add fuel to the fire. And then it still became my fault.
I'm just,
Jerry, did you hear him say it was my fault?
Everybody needs to vent sometimes, and I got to vent.
I hear that.
Out of the system.
I do. I need to vent sometimes. We all need to vent sometimes.
Right, that was mine.
Or else you just explode in murderous rage, and then that's not good.
No, nobody got murdered. I got it all out.
Yeah.
So anyway, getting people off of the systems that are obviously not dependable enough to have people that are in, that have consequences if they don't get their benefits. Let's not put them on government rolls. If you have the ability to pull that rug out from underneath them, let's not do it. But churches have done an amazing job at standing in. I'm very proud of our churches.
And and I've actually been sort of making a mental note. Like I have seen churches are saying we're ready, willing, and able. VFW, we're ready, willing, and able. Saw on the news, there's a company called Thrive something. I'm sorry, I forget their name. Handing out hot meals. Like, there are resources, which is why when you hear all this stuff about now crime's going to go through the roof and people are planning on stealing, either one, that's rage bait, which is despicable in and of itself, or two, that shows exactly who is scamming the system, who doesn't actually need it. Because real people that are of sound mind know there are resources to help in the interim and take advantage of that. People that say, screw all these actual legitimate legal ways to get help, I'm going straight to running in and grabbing and stealing and renting out, you're probably the ones abusing the system.
So just to be very clear, and we've heard the pushback on this topic, and I'm going to let you respond to it, and just tell me what I want to hear. Okay.
Tell me what
I want to hear.
Okay.
So, Kellen, that is privilege. And I hope one day you're on a system and you can see what it's really like to need help. And you would not be talking so ill about people when all they need is help. I hope you're there one day.
I'm trying to think, what do you want to hear?
I take that off the table.
I was wait a minute.
Give me your response. That
my honest response.
Yes.
Have been in the situation.
Okay.
Know people in the situation. Have experience with the situation. I can still not like the situation and think people can set themselves up to not be there.
Okay. So your empathy for people who legitimately need help, right?
Yeah.
Is there an extent where if you took a group of 43 million people that were receiving help, you would have to argue with me that all 43 million of those people literally in such dire circumstances that they had no hand in anything that led them into that circumstances. So if I said, they used to have Meals on Wheels. Do you remember that as a kid?
I remember the name. Yeah.
So you can subscribe. There was an entity, I think it was church oriented. And if you lost your job or you were laid off or whatever, they would come to your house and they'd have hot cooked meals and they would give you a meal. That existed, right?
Uh-huh.
Couldn't do Meals on Wheels today because literally it would just be too many people would swamp a system that doesn't make it mathematically even possible, right? You can't, there's so many people that are in that pen. You're not dealing with a minority, you're dealing with a majority. And so you can't do what individuals are really good at helping other individuals. So there's just a few of them that totally works out. But once you put scale on there and you make it a concentration of people that need help, then it's not help anymore. It's just another dependency system. And so my objective is to get a real number with how many people live amongst us that really are just in a bad spot. I don't believe it's 43 million, but maybe it's 10 million. And now we're working with a number that is doable if we can get the ones that aren't supposed to be there out of the way. Then I get the Meals on Wheels trucks going again, and I deliver to the people who should be there, and it's not their fault for being there.
Yeah, everybody wants this all or nothing mindset. If you in any way criticize any part of it, well, clearly you hate children and elderly and the disabled.
Yes.
And it's like, I can disagree with some of it while still supporting some of it. And the same people that are like, oh, well, you shouldn't cut anything, you shouldn't judge them, you shouldn't this and that, then you go out and help them. Have you left your house and gone to deliver resources you paid for somebody and watch them waste it and watch them take it knowing they didn't really? Or would you rather you spend your time and your money on somebody who actually does need it? Because until you're going to go out and knowingly and purposely take money out of your pocket and hand it to someone that you know doesn't actually need it, then shut up.
Yeah.
Because you can still want to help people and you can still not want to let others abuse it and take it from those who really need the help.
Yeah, and my talk takes the middle segment of people that have been told that they're victims. They might not even know that they have a hand in it. They just might believe what they're being told. So if I add some shame and some judgment and some bullying on there, I might snap you out and give you just enough accountability and information so you don't have to be there anymore. So if you don't want to be there, if it's not a safe place to be, I might be your rescuer. And all you got to do is take a little bit of my snide remarks and harsh language and snap to it and get into a system that's way better than dependence.
Yeah. I have been in a situation where I have been fortunate enough to go out and help those who really need it and give. I have also been in a situation that I went out with the intention to help someone who really needed it, and I saw they actually didn't. And I decided my time and resources would better serve this group than that group. But this all or nothing mindset is, what a jerk, you're saying you shouldn't help anyone. And I'm like, not at all. Not at all what we said.
Yep. All right, we're out of here for today. We'll catch you guys tomorrow. Have a good one.
Bye. Thank you for listening to this show on Youngstown Studio. This is original Youngstown content. Feel free to share our videos and tell your friends about us. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us